For more than 50 years, Officer Training School has been producing world-class officers of character for the active duty Air Force, the Air Force Reserve, and the Air National Guard. Like any other Air Force institution, OTS is made up of people committed to producing the highest caliber future leaders in the U.S. Air Force. The role of the flight commander at OTS is to lead, train, motivate, and evaluate a flight of prospective commissioned officers. Flight sizes range from 12 to 16 students, and flight commanders are either selected or volunteer.
I volunteered for this assignment. Actually, when I went through OTS 4.5 years ago, I asked my flight commander shortly thereafter graduation if I could stay. And I've had it on my ADP ever since I left Officer Training School and knew what an ADP was. So yes, I volunteered to be here, and in a sense it's a dream come true for me, for my career.
As a flight commander, you should possess effective leadership and mentorship qualities, have good writing skills, be fairly comfortable with public speaking, and be in good physical condition. Flight commanders go through an instructor's course where you gain experience speaking and teaching in a classroom environment.
I think when I first got here, there was a little bit of a fear as far as whether or not I would be a good instructor, whether or not I would be a good person to be out in front of the students. And when I was going through the initial training, you're a little bit intimidated by being up in front of people. Public speaking is always an intimidating thing. But what I found, and I remember realizing it during the first week I was here, was that once I got through the initial instructor training, that when I was actually involved with the students and actually teaching in the flight rooms, that I looked forward to it. I loved it. I was walking down the hallway excited about getting into the flight room and teaching, and all that fear had gone away.
During this 2-week course, you are taught fundamental teaching styles from formal lecture to guided discussion to case study. Flight commanders are encouraged to take what they have learned and develop their own style of teaching, all in an effort to better deliver the information and get the most out of the students. Setting the example for your students and instilling the Air Force core values are key in ensuring that students understand what it takes to get through this program and become an officer in the United States Air Force.
We're the cornerstone of what they're going to do. We're the foundation of how they're going to live their career.
The one thing that I instill in them is definitely the core values. That will take them throughout their entire career.
The core values here are very, very important, extremely important. It's our way of life. And that's how I specifically know if they're getting it. Because someone that comes through here, at least on my watch, is not going to get through here if they haven't internalized the core values.
Expect your students to be top-notch individuals. Oftentimes, they are already very accomplished in their prior military or civilian backgrounds. There are no typical days as a flight commander.
Typical isn't really a commonality here, and that's what I love about the job.
If A's not working, we're going to go with B.
Because it's not typical. Every day that you show up, there are different challenges set forth before you. The majority of the time, you're looking at an early morning. We want to prepare for the day and provide the best day we possibly can with the officer trainees, because you never get that day back, and time here is very short. And so expect some PT, do some physical training with the OTs, and then a multitude of things occur that day, whether it be class instruction, field exercises, direct mentorship. At any point throughout the day, 1 or maybe even 13 officer trainees stop into your cube, and then you get to directly mentor them.
As a flight commander, you will be challenged at times, but it's not without rewards. The knowledge, skills, and experience you gain will benefit you throughout your career.
Take those things that you learned during your time at OTS and use them in your specialty, whatever you go back into in the Air Force, because there are very, very applicable skills that you learned at OTS that can benefit not just you in your career, but those around you in your specialty out in the Air Force. Things that you learn both from your fellow instructors as well as from students, because there's a lot of prior service folks that come through OTS that as an instructor I learned things from those folks that I didn't know walking in the door as a relatively new captain. In some cases they'd been around the Air Force longer than I had. So take all of those nuggets that you learned and apply them so that you can benefit your career field. You might have been out of it for a little while, but you can definitely add so much more just because of the experience you've had at OTS.
You can take great satisfaction in knowing that what you are doing will greatly impact the Air Force mission and help mold the future leaders of tomorrow's Air Force.
As an instructor at Officer Training School, you have the opportunity to touch so many individuals that are going into the service. So you have the opportunity to mold them before they step foot into being an officer.
We lay the foundation for their officer development. We lay the foundation for their leadership. We instill them into what the Air Force believes is effective ways to lead people.
So that's a huge job when you think about it. It really is. You're training them to be officers. So when you think about it, you're kind of training like 13 to 16 mini U's.
You were the benchmark. They're going to look at you as a flight commander and they're going to go, that's what an Air Force officer is. That's the way I'm supposed to act. That's the love, that's the desire, that's the commitment that I have to have and I have to bring to the table. And they're going to strive forward and they're going to do it. It's just, I mean, it's an awesome feeling.
If you're interested in leaving your mark on the future of the U.S. Air Force, in producing the kinds of officers you'd like to lead and that others want to follow, call the Air Force Personnel Center and ask your functional manager about becoming an OTS flight commander today.